So Matthew, a few quick fire questions for you. So we're hearing a lot from members at the moment that they're struggling financially. What options do they have when it comes to their teams?
Yeah. So first thing we can look at is we can look at reducing hours. You can think about people maybe working more flexibly. We can ultimately look at redundancy if we need to look at redundancy. But as long as you're consulting and you're keeping people along from the ride and explaining why we need to do things in a certain way, and look at options short of redundancy, before redundancy, and you consult and you speak to us about what options might be able to, we'll be able to find the things that suit your business best.
Great stuff. Our policy, or members' policies, are to have their employees ring in sick, but some are texting or they're not ringing in at all.
Yeah.
How can they manage that? What should members do?
Yeah. So just make sure from the get-go that employees know that the expectation to phone in is not "I like to have," it's mandatory, and it's a slippery slope. If you allow it once, they'll do it again, and people think, "Oh, well, so-and-so got away with it." And particularly now when sickness and statutory sick pay is made from day one, one of the risks we're concerned about is that the one-day sickie will become more and more common. So by holding employees to account, by asking them to phone in and ask them questions, not too intrusively, of course, and get them to account for their absence, that might be one way of combating it.
So getting on top of that one, pretty sharpish, as
Absolutely.
we'll discuss in other sessions as well. So
Yeah.
Super. We're seeing more requests. You've mentioned it for flexible working. That's an option. So what do employers need to know about flexible working?
Yeah, so the expectation now is that flexible working is the default rather than the exception. The key thing for your members is that flexible working in your environment is actually much harder to accommodate than, say, someone in an office job. Someone in an office job can work from home, which is the common one now, or they might be able to change the way that their shift patterns work and all the rest of it. For you guys, which is very much customer focused in the salon, in the store, whatever you're doing, other than maybe changing hours here and there, the options for flexible working is a little bit limited. But just make sure that you're following the right process. You aren't just saying yes. Certainly if you're saying no, you're not just doing it off the bat. You think about it, you follow a process, and you can justify, if you're not able to uphold somebody's flexible working request, you can justify it based on the statutory reasons. I mean, if you're ever unsure, call the helpline. We'll talk you through it, and give you that advice, because the expectation these days is that you approve it. So if you're ever not going to approve it, then really think about it and seek advice.
Lovely, thank you. I know it's a quick bite, it should be a really quick question, but it's a really high level. There's still confusion around self-employment and employed.
Yeah.
So what's the risk?
So the risk is that somebody who you think is self-employed, because that's what's on the paperwork, are day-to-day being treated and behaving exactly like an employee would. So they might have been self-employed for years and years and years. And suddenly there's a dispute, and somebody mentions to them, "Oh, hang on a minute, how are you working day to day? You might have a claim here." And then they actually think, "All right, I'm going to argue that I'm an employee." And then they put in a claim for unfair dismissal or redundancy pay or something that they otherwise you don't think they'd have got. And they end up potentially being eligible for lots of compensation as a result. So don't just rely on what the agreement says. Think about how they're being dealt with on a day-to-day basis. Make sure you treat them differently. If you're unsure about how a self-employed person should be managed, phone us, email us, talk it through. Often in these scenarios, it's rarely clear cut. There'll be some things that might indicate self-employment, and there's some things that might indicate employed status. And it's a spectrum, and we'll be able to advise you where on that spectrum it falls. And we might say, well, if you've been doing this historically, maybe stop doing that. Certainly around things like booking holidays and wearing uniforms and providing the equipment and stuff. That tends to be the thing that tends to trip people up. And so just be conscious of that. And particularly now, again, with the qualifying service being reduced from 12 for unfair dismissal being 2 years to 6 months, more people will be captured by this. So it's just something to be aware of. Speak to your advisors if you're unsure, and we'll be able to give you a steer on it.
Super. And again, for anything and everything that we've covered in any of our sessions, the helplines, the 24/7 helplines, it's not just employment law. And we know where there's a commercial team that I know is operated by a separate team, but health and safety helpline and the tax and VAT. So we can help our members with a full range of inquiries that they might have. So our members are encouraged in probably almost every circumstance that we've talked about in all of our sessions.
And I would absolutely say we have heard everything. So there is nothing that there's no question that's too small. There's no scenario we probably haven't dealt with before. And if there is a scenario that we haven't dealt with before, well, then that's great, because it's our bread and butter, and it gives us something different to look into. So yeah, don't be shy. Just give us a call, and we'll be able to help you.
Great. Lovely. Thanks so much, Matthew.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.